and welcome to Interpretia. Spoiler alert, my name is not Rosa, sort of.
Hi and welcome to Interpretia. So, spoiler alert, my name is not Rosa. Well, it kinda is.
But I am an interpreter, and in this video I am going to tell you the story behind that and how I feel it made me improve as an interpreter.
But I am an interpreter and I'm going to tell you the story behind all of this and how this helped me become a better interpreter.
When I was born, my parents decided to name me after my grandfather. Not my grandmother, but my grandfather.
So when I was born, my parents thought it was a good idea to name me after my grandparent. Not my grandmother, but my grandfather.
They decided to name me Patricia. His name was Patricio.
So, my parents decided to name me Patricia since my grandfather's name was Patricio.
May he rest in peace. And that is actually my name. That's how my family and friends call me, and the name that is tied to my personal identity.
So may he rest in peace. So that is actually my name, the name all the people that know me call me by, the name that is my whole personality.
Now my mother also wanted me to have two names, a first name and a middle name, so she decided to name me after her. Her name is Rosa.
So my mom thought it was a good idea that I have two names, a first name and a middle name. So she decided to name me the same as her, which is Rosa. She's also called Rosa.
But she doesn't go by Rosa either. And although she never actually used that name in her life, she stuck me with it. So
even though she doesn't use her Rosa name, she doesn't goes by it. She named me after her, and she stuck that name with me.
So in my birth certificate, I am Rosa Patricia, but for all intents and purposes, I never used my first name, ever.
So in my birth certificate, it actually says Rosa Patricia, but I never use Rosa in my daily life.
Fast forward a couple of decades and I moved to the United States, and sometime after that, I started working as an interpreter.
So long story short, after a few years, I have to move to the United States and I started working as an entrepreneur.
I signed my first contract with a wonderful company that was relatively small. So as it tends to be the case in smaller companies, things were a little bit more personal.
So I became an interpreter and I signed my first contract in a small company. So as you can imagine, working in a small company, all the things were a little more intimate. They were more personal, more face to face.
And interpreters were known by their names and not only by their numbers. So I was using my name, Patricia.
So of course, interpreters were called by their real names and not by some assigned number they have. So of course, I was using my name, which is Patricia.
And everything was fine and dandy. Then the largest, or at least at the time it was the largest, not sure about now, the largest language services provider for telephonic interpretation bought this small company.
So everything went smoothly, everything was fine. And back in time, the largest telephonic interpreter company actually bought this small company I was working in.
and our contracts were transferred over. So in my first week interpreting for them, one day I was working as usual, and
So all of our work documents were passed to this big company. So because we were working for them now, and on my first week working for them, everything was fine.
suddenly I noticed that I was set as unavailable. If you've ever worked as a telephonic interpreter, you probably know that if you are suddenly set as unavailable, that could mean bad news.
So after 1 week, I noticed that my telephonic interpreter status was labeled as unavailable. So if you ever work in this field, you know that this means like bad news, that something is not right.
Because it could mean that you've done something wrong and QA wants to give you feedback on the spot.
So this can mean that you may have done something wrong, and maybe your bosses want to talk to you.
After a few seconds, there it was, that dreaded ring on my phone. Indeed, it was a QA supervisor calling me.
So after a few minutes, there was this scary sound on my phone. It was a call from my superiors
To question me as to why I was using a different name than what they had in the system.
So they started asking me why I was using a different name than the one that they have on their system.
Start explaining this awkward story that, well, yes, my name is Rosa, but it's not. I go by my middle name, which is this. And they were like,
so of course I started explaining to them this whole situation, that yes, I am called Rosa, but I don't use that name. I don't like to be called that, so instead I go by my middle name, which is Patricia.
no, girl, you are listed as Rosa, and that's how you need to introduce yourself from now on, okay? So I was super bummed because
So they said, like, you can do this. You have to use the name that is on our systems. So you cannot be using Patricia anymore. You have to use Rosa when you introduce yourself. So I was really sad about this.
I never liked that name. No offense to those of you tocayas out there, but it just never felt like my name. I never used it, so I just felt like I could not be myself because I had to use a different name.
So I didn't really like that name. No offense to all the people that is called Rosa, but I just feel like that name doesn't go with my personality. I don't like that name, and I don't connect. So yeah.
That was technically mine, but it wasn't. You know what I mean? But after
So it's like this situation that yes, it was my name, but I didn't feel like it was like mine, like it didn't express who I was.
after a couple of days of moping, I got back on the horse and I embraced my new interpreter name, Rosa.
So after a few days of being sad, of being being sad, I decided that it was enough, and I decided to go back to work and like embrace this new interpreter name I have now, which is Rosa.
And soon I started noticing a change. Since I felt I couldn't be myself anymore when I was interpreting.
And like suddenly I feel this change in me, because using a new name, I didn't feel like I was myself. So I was like challenging myself.
Because of this name change, it was as if a new character or a new persona had been created just for this purpose. And it was great.
I felt like since I changed my name and I started using this new one, it felt like another person, like another side of me appear, like this new character, this new person that came out of me. And it actually felt amazing. It felt really great.
Because as Patricia, I speak a certain way. I am more impatient. It's easier for me to interpret certain things, while it's more difficult for me to interpret other things.
Because, well, when I was Patricia, I used to talk like a certain way. I used to make mistakes interpreting some things while being the best at some other things. So yeah.
So by being Rosa, I felt like I was leaving all my personal biases at the door, and I was able to free myself from that weight to reach new places mentally.
So being Rosa allowed me to work without these old like expectations of me and put all of that behind me and kind of like became a new person who has like no worries and yeah.
That I couldn't reach before. There are actually many studies that have proven
Yeah, allowing me to reach a new emotionally level that I wasn't able before using my other name.
that a way a person is dressed has a direct impact in their mood, their attitude, and their behavior, and that when people wear a uniform that is always associated to a certain job, it can help them pay more attention to their job.
So actually, a lot of studies have shown that the way a person dresses can actually change their perspective and the way they think, the way they talk. Because when you wear a uniform that is designed for this specific job, your mind associates it with that, and yeah, it changes your.
Make less mistakes and focus more. I was a telephone.
Yeah, it allows you um to focus more on your work, to not think about many other things besides your job, and to make less mistakes.
Interpreter, so I did not have a uniform, but my name was the one piece of personal information that I was able to convey. And when that was taken away from me and I became Rosa, it's like that became my mental interpreter uniform.
So, of course, being an interpreter, I didn't have a specific uniform, and I only wore my name, Patricia. But when that changed, when I had to change my name to Rosa, I think that became like a mental uniform that I decided to wear every day.
And in turn, I began focusing more, speaking better, improving my accent, modulating my voice better, and leaving my personal biases outside of the encounter.
So that helped me to speak better, to modulate better, to regulate my voice volume. Yeah, that helped me a lot, and it helped me also to leave all of my personal expectations outside of work?
As interpreters, we have to have some of the skills that make a good actor or actress.
Because as interpreters, we have to have some of the skills that make a good actress or actor.
So through Rosa, I could definitely tap more into that. And I know it probably also had something to do with the fact that by then I was a little bit more experienced and all of that. But I honestly feel that a lot of my improvement was triggered by all the mental processes that started happening in my mind.
So through Rosa, using my other name, I could achieve this because it allowed me to achieve all these things in my work, to focus more in my work. And I think it was because I was more experienced at that time in my field, and it was like a new beginning. Like I had all the skills and experience from working this job, but it was like I was starting from the beginning because of my new name.
When I started separating myself from the encounter. And by that, I don't mean interpreting in a robotic and machine-like manner.
And yeah, saying this doesn't mean that I see interpreting as as something like robotic or something very manufactured.
Totally the opposite. Because as Patricia, I was impatient and I would feel frustrated, and sometimes I would let my frustration show when parties were being redundant or did not seem to understand clearly or something like that.
I think it's the opposite, because when I was Patricia, I used to be very impatient. I used to get really heated when things were irrational, when things were confusing, when people didn't take the designated time. Yeah, I was very, very all over the place.
But as Rosa, I didn't have those feelings. I was even tempered and more calm. Also, if my interpretation was ever challenged as Patricia, or if there was a misunderstanding, I would feel as if it was a personal attack. But
Well, when I am Rosa, I don't feel those negative feelings. I feel super calm. I feel like I can um, I can give myself more freedom to express myself. And when I was Patricia, if I made some mistake and somebody told me that I was making a mistake, I felt like that was a personal attack. I felt attacked. And
as Rosa, the interpreter, I could stand corrected or clarify situations simply as the interpreter without any personal feelings getting in the way.
well, but Rosa being the interpreter, I could take this criticism in the best way and like an opportunity to grow, because I didn't feel like they were attacking my persona, Patricia, but they were making a suggestion, making a comment to Rosa, the interpreter.
It's like just saying that name flipped a mental switch that activated all those things. So I highly encourage you to find your switch to unleash your interpreting superpower. And
So it was like making that small change of changing my name, activated like this switch that allow me to have this balance between my work life and my personal life. So I would recommend you guys so you can go and find your own switch.
It doesn't have to be something so drastic like a name change, but if you are a telephonic interpreter, you can start thinking of your headset as your mental switch when you put it on, or if you do on-site, you can consider your switch a special pen you only use for.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be like this big change, like changing your name. But for example, if you are telephonic interpreter, your switch can be maybe the headphones you wear to interpreter, or if you're or it can also be a pen you use to take notes.
For taking notes when you are interpreting, or you can think of your badge if you wear one as your mental switch. I just wanted to share this story because in the interpreting world,
it can also be like a badge, maybe an ID they gave you, so it can be your switch.
I am not known as Patricia, which is my real name.
So I just wanted to share like this story with you guys so you don't get confused as to why my name is Patricia, but people from work call me Rosa.
So if I ever meet any of you in person, don't be surprised if I don't introduce myself as Rosa. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you are staying safe and doing well wherever you are. And as
So if we ever meet in person, don't be surprised as to why I don't introduce myself to you guys as Rosa, because that's my work name, but instead as Patricia. So I hope you guys are okay. I hope you're doing great.
as always, thank you so much for watching. Adios.
And that'll be all. Thank you so much for watching the video. Thank you so much. Bye.